Hello, everyone. We are live. I know you guys have been looking forward to this one. There's been tons of submissions for this particular one, and we have probably at least 30 or so or more different logos to review in this video. So I'm glad you're here. I'm going to stall for a few minutes and wait for people to come on live. I'm going to, like always, refresh my other computer so I can see your live comments and hopefully respond. I'm hoping at the end of this we'll do a live Q&A where we can ask questions about anything dealing with design or freelance or software or anything that you're thinking about in the creative space. So I'm going to go ahead and refresh my page so I can kind of see who's popping in live. I'm just going to do that for a minute. And yeah, I just released a new logo design mastery class. If you're not aware of that, make sure you go to my website. You can go to my website at any time to get discounts on any of my courses, which you can find it at lindsaymarsh.myportfolio.com. You can have access to all my courses for a pretty cheap price. So go ahead and check that out. Just that my little plug before we get started. Here's kind of the logo design I submitted for this particular project, although I'm just kind of doing it as an example and just kind of showing how I put all this together. I do all this in the logo design mastery class. I follow this entire project, and I follow another Coffee Guild project, which is a coffee logo, and I follow all that through the course and go through every step of the logo design concept, brainstorming, and putting together packages for clients. So just kind of letting you know. And let me see what else we have here. Let me kind of see who's hopping in live. So I'm just refreshing. There I am. Okay, so now I can see your comments. Good. Hi, Juan. Hi, Samantha. So glad you guys just say hi if you're live. I'm going to go ahead and get started in about 30 seconds or so. Just kind of give some time for people to come on in. So I'm so glad you just decided to join me. I thought this was a really engaging. The petlove.com logo that we did a couple of months ago was really engaging. Got a lot of feedback from that one. So I crafted this one in a similar way where I gave you a client brief and you had to kind of use that client brief to come up with a logo. Hi, Jesse. Yay. Well, I'm going to go ahead and get started. We have a lot to do here. So I'm going to go ahead and pop into Photoshop here and I'm going to go ahead and start with some of these. So this is this is not everybody's. There's a couple of you guys who submitted last minute projects, but just kind of seeing everybody's together, it just makes me really happy. Just how much skill you guys have, how much you're learning. A lot of you guys, this might be your 6th or 7th design challenge, and I've seen you improve over each design challenge throughout even the last year. And it's amazing how you guys are sticking with it and continuing to do these challenges to practice, but not only practice, but building those portfolio pieces, which is so essential to finding new clients. So hi, Neil. Hi, Juan. Hi, Cece. So just saying hi to people. All right, so here's the folder. Let me see if I can find the folder I already set up perfectly for us. So here's everybody. I thought I'd do it in reverse alphabetical order because why not? So here's the first one. And I thought if you guys can see these pretty good, I'm going to bring in select photos into Photoshop to make kind of marks on them if I need to. But this is the first one. This is a fantastic logo. I love using mock-ups, as you can see in my logo design mastery course where I kind of guide you through doing some mock-ups. I see you guys love mock-ups. It really gives it a nice polished view. But not only that, you get to see how the logo adapts to lots of different environments. See this kind of this would be a very common thing you would see in a gym. You see the hours, you see the logo. It needs to exist in one color, which is white. And this logo is proving to be adaptable to that situation. So that's why it's really nice to have a logo that looks good in one color and not 2 colors, just one. If it can look good in one color and have all the assets and characteristics it needs, then it's going to be a strong candidate. So I really like these colors kind of coming together, and I like kind of showing it on the product as well. So very soft colors. The client, if you had a chance to look at the client brief before watching this, you'll know it's a gym and a spa. So it's a gym and a spa. They're in the West Coast of the United States. They're right near the ocean. So that's where the whole wave kind of thing, you guys used a lot of water and waves in your design. That was based on the client brief and where they're located and kind of what they offer. They offer yoga classes, but they also offer a gym. And it's mostly targeted toward women. So just kind of letting everybody know what the client brief was. And this is definitely feminine colors. As a woman, I connect with these colors. They're not super bright pink or anything stereotypical. They're soft, they're calm. It's just a really nice color palette. So I'm going to go ahead and open this up in Photoshop. And some of these I may not have to go in and mark up because they're already really good. I'm just kind of zooming in on this. You can kind of see the wave. Let me make sure my marks are good here. Let me make sure that's red. Let's do a red mark, reduce my brush size, and increase opacity. There we go. So I really kind of like this curve here, kind of the curve of the wave. I'm not sure if you did this or not. If you can kind of check out the golden ratio, you might be able to adapt kind of the golden ratio and kind of create some curves. You might have done that. I can kind of see some that are kind of adapted a little bit nicely, but that'll kind of give it a more consistent curve going down here where it doesn't get really skinny here in the middle and really fat. It kind of has a more smoother transition from the thickness and thinness of the bends. I like the typography here. I like the way you stack it going like that because it has a kind of a nice consistency with the logo symbol. So this was really well done, a great first project to start with. And I'm just kind of looking up at some of the comments. Okay. All right, so this is Wendy, and I love the way this looks on mock-ups. This sign looks really neat with that texture. Just really love how this looks. It's very California. I think they said they even spent time living in California, so they understand the kind of California vibe that is here. And this would almost, I would see it as a, you know, a surf shop where you can go and buy t-shirts and boogie boards and all those things you need before you head out to the beach. So I, you know, it's kind of the vibe that I'm getting from it. And I love how it's applied to the t-shirt. And once again, being able to see this on black and white is so nice because you could see it in full color. You could see it in one color. So her logo passed the test. It passed the flexibility test. So, so great job in terms of having a logo that can be adaptable. So I love the palm tree and how it has a particular, it associates with the letter I. So you're having like a little bit of a double meaning in there. You have the I, you have the palm tree. The color of the water on the bottom looks really refreshing, looks really nice. I like the typography. Health Club and Spa, I like the arced text, kind of an arc format. So I think that looks really good. I think the only issue would be just, and this would be more of something that would be with the client, is making sure it has that high-end spa feel to it. You definitely got the gym thing, you got the West Coast vibe, and so making sure it incorporates a little bit of that spa, calm kind of feeling and aesthetic. But I really like kind of, and I think you had the brainstorming one. I guess I saved it in a different area, but you showed me kind of an example of how you kind of brainstormed, and you said it was a mess. I'm not sure if that was you or someone else, but just kind of showing my brainstorming. This is how it looks when I spend a lot of time with it. I have a polished client presentation, and this is what reality is. This is what it looks like when you're brainstorming different ideas. This is for the coffee logo that's featured in the latest class. This was my brainstorming process. It's an absolute mess, but that's how it is. You create all this junk and then you grab what works and you put it in a new document and you continue to refine it. But yeah, if you guys feel like this is how it was creating your logo, this is reality. This is a very honest kind of what all my client logo processes look like, is this big old messy Adobe Illustrator document. So doesn't always come out looking like this. It takes a lot of time to get it to that point. So yeah, this is reality, and that's what you see. So that's the behind the scenes that designers don't show clients, but I think it's refreshing to see the brainstorming process and how you kind of came up with a particular look. So awesome, Wendy, thank you. So Voss had a couple of different ones. I'm going to show this one off first because I think it's lovely. This is beautiful. I love the mock-up you used. I know this is a very popular style with this kind of pop art style where you have simple one color shaded objects and shapes. So the mock-up looks fabulous. I love this color used down here. I think this vertical approach to the logo looks really nice, especially when you have this element right here and this element right here. It just looks very concise, very, very nice, very unified. So I wanted to start off with that because I think the logo looks really good there. I love the typography there. It looks like you were inspired by the golden ratio, a little bit of golden ratio inspiration in terms of coming up with kind of how things cross over. So just kind of like seeing your process there. This is the final logo. I think the typography is wonderful. I also love how you have a black and white version, or one that's on a dark background, one that's on a light background. So I really appreciate that. And I guess my only comment is kind of a color palette. I know you kind of had your color palette derived. Let me see if I can. Here's your color palette inspiration. So you kind of have a sea green and kind of some other different colors. And I almost wonder if the green is a little bit too close to the blue, or just different enough, not analogous enough, I guess, on the color wheel. Um, I love the blue hues. I think those look really good. I think the green kind of throws it off a little bit, but I think it still looks good. I think I'm glad I'm seeing your inspiration for your color, so I can kind of understand where you approached it from a color standpoint. I love a typeface breakdown. So this is great, kind of shows you that this is a bold, this is a light. So you notice the contrast that he has one in a light typeface and then one in a bold. And notice the contrast looks really lovely, really professional. This is a fantastic type choice. And then business card, and you kind of have some other ones. Here's a new one you just submitted. I actually really like this one a lot better. I like the typography of this first one you had, but I think I like the symbol and the shape here. I'm going to go ahead and pop it into Photoshop so we can kind of see this a little bit better. So you kind of have the shape of the P, and you also have a wave. I think that's really creative. I think this is a really unique shape. I think this is a shape that will also look good on products standalone without any typography. So I think that's what the client wanted in the client brief. So I think that looks fabulous. I really like this one a lot better. I do like your typography of your first one though. So here's the typography of the second one. And I really like I like the idea of the P. Sometimes it's hard to replace the P entirely in the type choice. So you might want to put it in the standard typeface you have here with the P and have the P as a standalone symbol. And that's just for flexibility and adapting it to a lot of different things, because sometimes this will be so small that the P won't be made out when the Pacific Calm is reduced. But when it's in its own symbol, it'll be easier to read. Okay, so next. I like how some of you guys really went way beyond what was required, and it was just it's so great to kind of see the branding side of it too. So I appreciate those who kind of went the next level. All right, so here's another one. Let's look at the logo by itself. Let's go ahead and double click here. So this is without the headline. Let's go ahead and look at it with the tagline. Open that up. So I kind of see how you have the waves here. I'm going to open this up in Photoshop because I think I want to mark on this one just a little bit. All right, so we kind of have the waves, you kind of have a lot of different elements here. And what I think what makes a successful logo is simplification. So trying to simplify all the objects and elements as much as possible so it could be flexible and adaptable. And I say flexible and adaptable a lot, but that's one of the best characteristics of a logo design. So I like your idea of the C being the wave, the concept there, the C being the wave. Let me go ahead and make this a little bit bigger. That's solid, that's great. I love it right there. Love that. I would probably find ways to simplify it, maybe removing the little crashing waves part, and plus the lines on that's a little too skinny. The line on those little strokes, that's a little bit too skinny to work well on a smaller size. So I might get rid of that and do something creative with how it bends over to kind of emulate the crash of the waves. But yeah, just trying to find ways to simplify. I don't like thin strokes a whole lot, just because when you reduce it in size, those thin strokes start to look kind of messy. So just kind of eliminating the little stroke there and just keeping it a solid shape might look a little better. And if you needed contrast between the different leaves, you can always cut out a little white part here and kind of let the white space between the leaves be the line, replace what the stroke is trying to do. So I actually like this typography. I think it's fun. I would probably do, if you have a lowercase, when you have type that's curved, a lot of times using uppercase holds up a lot better when you're bending text. It's sometimes lowercase is just not as strong when you curve it and bend it and put it in seals. So a lot of times I'll do uppercase to kind of have a little bit of a stronger type stamp there. So thank you for submitting that, Steve. Oh, and here it is applied to products. So it's always nice to kind of see it applied to a lot of different situations. All right, so we have this next one. This is kind of one that was just submitted. So this is kind of reminds me of Sydney, Australia, with the landmark there, but I think it's really cool. I love the kind of the slow gradient, very kind of in right now, having that nice color transition from blue to purple. I think that looks really nice. And so this is what I was talking about with the last logo. Notice how here there's a little bit of a white space here that kind of gives it a separation of elements. And that looks really nice there, how you have that little bit of a white stroke there. I like the typography. I don't see anything majorly wrong with it. It's chunky. It's kind of got an interesting kind of characteristic to it. This right here, it's a little bit too soft. I kind of ignore it. What you could do is maybe tighten. I know you're trying to make it flush on the sides, but I think in this case, tightening up the spaces here will help it feel more together and connected. And it's okay if it's not flush on the left and right sides, not necessarily a requirement. So I really like this. Let's see it adapted. This is kind of some brainstorming process here. You can see kind of how they added some of the texture overlay. Looks like they might have taken the logo design mastery course, because I kind of go over how to add a little bit of grit and texture. I think that looks really good there. Kind of has that gritty effect to it. I think the only thing in terms of critiquing it is, kind of going back to the client brief and thinking that this is a feminine brand. This is a gym and a spa, very calming, very soft. So finding ways to soften your angles. So you kind of have these sharp tips up at the top, and maybe finding ways to soften the tips of the waves so they don't seem like they're kind of spiky and sharp, that they kind of have more rolling waves, calm, softer, kind of thinking about the target audience a little bit in that regard. Here it is. Oh, I love this sweater. I would totally wear this. I want to order this. I love the color. I like how it's pink inside. I love this blue color, the blue and pink, very feminine, but not like obviously feminine because you're throwing the blue in there. I really like this a lot. I might make the overall logo mark a tiny bit smaller compared to the sweater, just making it like 20 or 30% smaller. But I would totally order that sweater. So I think that looks good. Very, very good. Oh, and here it is on the sign. And here's kind of some advertising. And I think this looks good. Gain muscle, lose stress. I like the duotone single kind of color on there, or dual color on there. It looks really nice. This t-shirt looks great as well. And that's a woman's t-shirt, so it's nice to see it on the target audience. So very, very, very strong logo there. So I would just find ways to soften it just a little bit to give it more smooth angles. So Sean, yay. He does such great work. I love his illustrator. He's just such a great illustrator and really kind of drawing realistic stuff. I'm horrible at that, but he's really good at that. So let me go ahead and get my pen tool here. So I think this is a great logo. The idea of using the pearl clam, I guess it's a clam, is a great idea. I didn't even think of a clam, but yeah, ocean, calm, clams, they're just chilling out at the bottom of the ocean. It makes a lot of sense to use one. And you see them a lot associated with spas. You see the shells used a lot. I think that's a great idea. I really love the woman in the middle. It shows her doing yoga. It shows her being strong, shows her work, kind of the strength, but also the calm. I like the position of her as well. And this is with the tagline, and that is without the tagline. I think in terms of simplification, I think one thing you could do is maybe, and I know some people may not like this idea, but I would actually get rid of the heart and just have the symbol. And why is when you kind of zoom out, you start to lose the heart a little bit. And I think it adds 3 elements to a symbol. So you have the heart, the woman doing yoga, and the shell. But if you take out the heart, then you only have the 2 elements there. So I know not a lot of people will be big fans of removing the heart, because I think the heart looks really cool. But in terms of just trying to simplify it just a little bit, that would probably be my critique there. And also, kind of when you do font pairing, you have a similar typeface and a similar weight here. You did make the calm smaller, which is good in terms of contrast. I might even try a sans serif typeface here just to counter the serif typeface here with Pacific. So just if you make that a serif typeface, maybe a lighter weight, it might have a little bit more contrast. But I think that's a good type choice overall with that. So awesome, Sean. Yes, I love it. Oh, and you're live. So that was really good. So Samantha, I think Samantha's also live. Here we go. So you have a very extensive photo, which is very cool. So let's see if I can zoom in and take a look at everything. This is a beautiful presentation, by the way. So this is hers. We see another shell. I love the idea of the shell even more than the wave now that I see it, because I think it really is a nice calming presence. And also the nautilus shell is the example of the golden ratio. All nautilus shells grow according to the golden ratio. If you ever look at one of these shells, there's so much order to these shells and so much, things that go behind it. I think it's a really good symbol and choice. I love the colors here. Oh, first of all, I love the typeface. This is a really nice typeface. It's not too thick. It's not too thin. It works really well. Palette is wonderful. I like how you have two solid colors. You also have a gradient option if that is an option that the client can do. So typefaces, love that typeface choice. So I guess it's Open Sans and then Montserrat. So I really like that Montserrat. I think that's Montserrat. I think that's how you say it. It's a beautiful typeface choice. Color variations, you're showing the flexibility of your logo here. I like how it can exist on any color and it translates well. So you pass the test. I love the presentation here. I like the little bit of a drop shadow you have here. It's not too strong, but it just gives you a little bit of a layered look to your presentation. And here's kind of, you see vertical, which is the vertical, and then horizontal. So I like seeing both presentations because you're going to need both when you adapt it to social media and a bunch of other stuff. So you're passing the test with flying colors here. So graphic elements, this is your inspiration. I love how you converted these all to the same color to match the brand. Excellent job with presentation. Love all the different shells and the inspiration that you have. So this is kind of an ad put together. I think this looks really good. That logo looks very strong there on the upper left. It's standing on its own. You don't have to do a drop shadow. I can read it. I can make it out. It looks really, 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 really good. So I think this is a great presentation. Oh, that is beautiful. Look at that. I'm just going to let this stay here for a minute or two because this is stunning. I don't know where you found the shell, but if you want to let me know where you found these shell graphics, they're beautiful and they're wonderful. And it's a great asset, a great branding asset that you can have alongside with the brand. And I think the balance and the layout of this product is really good. The balance and the layout of the circular cream product is really good. This is very, 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 very strong. So I'm super happy to see this. I'm super happy to be able to show other students this, just how much having a strong presentation makes a big difference in how you can sell your logo to your client. If you were to send this to a client complete like this, there's a very high likely chance that they're going to approve it and you can get paid and you can move on to the next client. And most likely they'll refer you to another client. So yes, very, very, very strong. Super happy with that. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and open this one in Adobe Photoshop and kind of see. I like how you're showing it in different color situations. And I believe someone pointed out that it looks like a wave, but it also looks like a bed and it's hair. So you kind of have this triple meaning that you somehow squeezed in there. So in terms of the concept, that's really good. I like the woman's outline. I think this looks good. I might even just shorten the hair just a little bit, maybe right there, so it's not quite as long. But I think overall, I think this is really good. I like the typeface. The only thing I'm worried about is it might be a little too thin. You kind of zoom out about this point, you do start to lose a little bit of the typeface. This doesn't mean you make every typeface really bold and chunky, just thick enough to be able to be seen from a distance. So you might just want to thicken that up just a tiny bit. And if it doesn't have a thicker typeface, I go over this in my Logo Design Mastery course where you can thicken up any typeface by adding a stroke to the type. In Illustrator, you can add a little small 1 or 2 point stroke, and then you can add a little bit of kind of chunkiness to that and go to Path, Outline, Stroke to get it to stick. Okay, so here we go. Let me see, let me make sure I have all the right. Is this the final? This is the final overview. So I want to kind of open this up and zoom in enough. And I know you're live, so no pressure, right? Okay, so here's kind of the final presentation. Let me do 120%. And I know you recently edited this a little bit, but I really love the flower icon or the little symbol here along with the wave. I could see it makes a C, but it also kind of has that flower, which is calm and has the spa, but also has the strength of the wave. And so in terms of your symbols and your balance and how you have it perfectly in that circle, it is excellent. I really like how this is composed. I really like this typeface right here. It's got these really cool serifs, which give it a little bit of character. It also has contrast with its strokes. So you see the A here. I hopefully can see this enough. You see the A, how it's really, really skinny, and you see kind of how it has a chunkier right side. So the contrast there looks beautiful. It's a wonderful serif typeface, which is kind of a die dot style typeface as well, which has higher contrast between the strokes. If you've taken any of my typography theory lessons. So kind of moving over here, you can kind of see it in some different contexts. Let me open this up again. Okay. So you get to see it black and white, one color, see how it works. It's flexible. If your logo does not pass that test, you need to try again. It might be too complicated if your logo can't exist in one color. Just keep trying and keep simplifying. I love this gold foil stamping mock-up. That looks really beautiful, very high end. I like it with the little brown as well. Just looks really good. Kind of moving around here, kind of showing all these different little, it looks really good here in kind of a neutral colors as well in this top area. T-shirt, you can totally see that maybe being embroidered on t-shirts for the staff. And then of course you have the little bottle here. So very adaptable, flexible logo. It passes all the tests. I think it looks really strong. And I really like this kind of color here used in the Love Yourself Healthy. And I like your typography here, how he switched it up. He did some nice font pairing where you have script and you have some different kind of font weights kind of there, and it looks really good. So excellent work. Excellent. Another good, strong example. And there's some other ones that are a little bit bigger in size that I can show you. Okay, so Matthew, you're next. Let's go ahead and show this one. And I might need to open this one in Photoshop so I can make some marks. Okay, so here we go, Matthew. So I like the typeface here. It's nice and bold, and you have kind of a thinner weight here, so the contrast is really good. What I like to do is make sure there's not huge gaps between words, especially if they are read as kind of a one company name. So maybe just tighten the spacing a little bit between those two words. I like the idea of this dumbbell there. She's showing strength, which is what we want to show. And there's water, and there's a water droplet. There's a lot going on. I think there's maybe a way we can simplify the icon a little bit. I like the idea of the woman here, and I like the idea of maybe a wave. So, you know, perhaps there's a way to simplify the water here and maybe not have the little details in there, or maybe have another version where it's a solid color just so it translates a little bit better. I might thicken up, you're probably going to get sick of me saying this, but probably thicken up the lines here just so when you zoom out, it has a nice strong kind of presence. And there we go. I like this. Let's see what it looks like on a t-shirt. And there we go on the t-shirt. So yeah, kind of closing the gap between those two words will help a lot, because right now they seem very separated. They don't seem connected. All right, so we have another one here. Oh, this looks nice. Very simple icon, and that's the black and white simple version. There's the horizontal version. So we have some different typefaces you're experimenting with. I kind of like, I don't know, which one do you like better? Do you like the script, or do you like the sans serif typeface? That's kind of something you guys can put in the comments, which one, kind of help me out, which one you like better, the script or the sans serif. Here's the t-shirt. I like the color palette a lot. Those are nice complementary colors. Yellow and blue kind of have a warm color and a cool color. I like the simple icon here. I think the icon works really well here. So yeah, I don't know, from a distance, I like the script a little bit better, although the script looks a little, I don't know if you did it yourself or it's a typeface. So unless you're live, I'm not sure, but I really I like that. I like that a lot. So yeah, nice icon, flexible. I think that's a little bit thicker in its strokes than that one. So I like the one that's thicker. So I like that one a lot. So yeah, so Neil is saying script. Yep, script. It's official. Script wins. Okay, working on down the list. This is a beautiful icon. Let me see if I can. Let me open up this one because I really like this version. The colors are beautiful. Turquoise is just, what a stunning color. I love that turquoise color. It's very beautiful, very, very beautiful. I like that a lot. I like it paired with the brown or tan. I think these colors work very, very well together. They're classic color combinations that work well. I like this symbol. It's really unique. I think it can stand alone on products. If I were to be very picky, I'd be careful about the point here. This little point here, if you have points that are too tight, it might have some hard problems with print reproduction. So maybe just putting a little bit of a round cap on the top of that just to kind of help it print better. So it's not like one little pixel stranded out there just for print reproduction, not really for how it looks. But I love those combinations together. I like how you have this darker color and you have this lighter turquoise color. And of course, having an off-white works really, really well with the blue instead of having a total white. So, and I like the typeface. It's soft, it's feminine. Down here, once again, lowercase letters have a hard time looking like they're together when they have white spaces between them. So you might want to make that all caps or tighten the spacing a little bit between the characters. So that's the only comment I have there. Here's a black and white presentation, horizontal. Looks good. I think they both look good. I love that color. That turquoise color is stunning. Looks really beautiful. The typeface looks nice and clean. All right, we have another one. So this one is, you're going to have to help me figure out what you like best. A couple of different versions here. We have this one, kind of have this long kind of semicircle wave action going on here. We have this one has a little bit of a tighter wave. And we have this one, which I personally think is the best one. Go ahead and double click on this one. I think this one looks really cool, very strong. I think one way you can soften it is by, let me go ahead and open this in Photoshop. I think you can soften these little points, although it looks really cool and contemporary how it is. Maybe just soften like the edges a little bit on the corners. And I think you can have a little bit of a softer approach of the logo. But you make a C, you make a wave, you have the double meaning in there. I totally get it. I like the typeface choice. I think that looks fine. I would make this all caps or close the gaps between the spacing. Make sure it's not stretched. It looks like it might be vertically stretched a little bit, this particular typeface. But I love, look at these colors. Isn't that beautiful? And it looks like it's a gradient transition, kind of a little bit on each one. It looks really beautiful. I really love this icon. So that is my favorite one. But what do you guys think? Do you like this one? So I guess there's a number 3 right here. So do you like 3, 2, or 1? I think this might be too stretched. It kind of reminds me of a smiley face. And it's really bottom heavy in terms of balance. So you got this big, huge emblem right there. I guess you could take it as like a necklace, also a wave, but also a C. You know, I can kind of see that. But I think the balance of the logo is a little bit off on this one. But I think it's just right here. So we got someone who likes 2, someone who likes 3. We got one who likes 1. So we're all over the place. So, you know, that's the great thing about sending multiple versions to clients is you never know which one the client will like. They always surprise me and choose the one that I like the least. But that's okay as long as they choose something. Okay, let's moving on here. All right, so we have this one next. We have a color version and a non-color version. I kind of like the black and white because it kind of takes those really bright colors out of there and kind of strips it down. So I do like the black and white a little bit better. I think with these colors, yellow is such a hard color to use. If you can use it well in a logo, then you're the master. But I think yellow, if used too much, can really be overpowering for a particular logo. But that doesn't mean you can't use yellow. It just can be very bright and hard to kind of rein in sometimes. But I like the typeface is very California, so I totally get that. I like how the calm is in lowercase. That's kind of nice. What I might do is maybe have calm tuck a little bit more underneath it, kind of like this. You don't want it to touch, but you want it to kind of flow a little bit like that. You can have your waves kind of come in here. Oops, if I can draw, can't draw. Kind of have it come up and connect with the text a little bit. So instead of kind of being this disconnected element, it swooshes and kind of takes over that this white space right here. So it doesn't look like there's so much space between these elements. And so finding a way to connect that a little bit better. And also finding a way to have the logo be solid one color. So I see it kind of fading here, which could have some print reproductive problems or reproduction problems when you get it printed on embroidery and t-shirts. That faded to nothing color, or kind of that gradient that fades to nothing. It's hard to do with embroidery and things like that. So just kind of thinking about that in terms of having it in your logo. So I like that. So awesome. Luke. Okay, so let me open up this. So it's a really unique icon. The wave is very popular kind of choice from you guys. And that's for good reason because it makes a lot of sense. I like the blue type. I like the typography. I love the blue shades. Really nice analogous color palette. Looks really lovely. I like the sub heading, the Love Yourself Healthy. It's lowercase, but it's also got some good spacing there, and see how it looks very unified and connected. So I like this one a lot. Let's go ahead. This is kind of a neat foil stamp. I don't know what mock-up you use, but it's kind of neat. Let me see if I can close that down. Here's kind of some different presentations. Pacific Calm, I like. Oh, what I liked about this is really nice. I like this presentation, but I love this little product design. I thought this was a really good layout for product design. I thought it looked really clean, and the typography choice looks really good there as well. And so seeing it on a product sells it to me more than seeing it by itself. I like it better on a product than I did, kind of standalone. So that's why doing those mock-ups and product presentations are so important, and selling your logo. So thank you, Luke. So Laura, oh, this one's beautiful. So you had a couple of different ones. So I'm going to go ahead and show the main ones, and everyone's going to vote which one they like better. So, okay, so this one's number 2. This one's number 3. So you kind of have the water droplet. And there's kind of the water droplet applied to different products. Let's go ahead and double click so we can make that a lot bigger. That looks really good. I like kind of this texture that's on top. And I like these colors. That looks really neat. I'd totally wear those pants, by the way. And a beautiful product cover too as well. Looks really good. So standalone without the texture, I don't know if I like this one as much, but when I see it on this t-shirt, it looks really cool. So when you see it on those products, you can really see it kind of come to life. So let me know. So we have votes for 1, votes for 2. So this one's 3, this one's 2, and the other one was 1. Yeah, 2. I think this one is stunning. So I'm going to go ahead and open this up, and I have one little comment, one little tiny comment. So I'm going to zoom in here. Let's take a closer look at this little symbol. Looks like it's inspired by the golden ratio, but if not, it still looks wonderful. I love how they use gradients. So they use kind of darker shades that goes to light, but the way they stacked it, it made it look like it's kind of got a 3D feeling. It's got a layered look. It looks really beautiful. And I think this would look really good. I wouldn't even have the thin stroke here as the circle, or I would thicken that up or remove it altogether, because I think it'll look really clean without it. It'll just be one less little element they have to look at, and they can focus on the wave. But I really love how they use the gradients to really give it that beautiful, almost 3D, like you can reach out and pick it up and feel it. And the type choice is beautiful. Wonderful sans serif choice. This all looks really good. I would close the gaps a tiny bit between if you're going to keep it lowercase, or just make it uppercase if you're going to keep the wide spacing between there. Just make sure this is aligned here, so you have your little bullet points here and here instead of down there, just to kind of make it a little bit more center. But I really, really appreciate this one a lot. And oh, here we go. Here's kind of a simplified version as well, where it can adapt to one color. So I think that's really good that they had a non-gradient version. Yay! Congratulations, you won. But that's what everyone needs to have. If they have this really detailed gradients, to have one without gradients. And you might be able to get a little line here that kind of indicates a couple of strokes, just to detail it out a little bit, but without adding gradients. So I really, really appreciate this one a lot. It's definitely one of my favorites. And this is kind of the concept. So yeah, this is beautiful work. So I'm going to zoom in, and I just love the color palette. I love how they have inspiration here. There's order to her wave. She just didn't kind of just say, I'll make a pretty wave. There's some kind of order, golden ratio type of kind of driven design out of it. So this is just stunning. I think that's it with that one. Okay, so we're going to move on to Kat. So this is her, I'm going to show her brainstorming process, because I love it when students kind of show how they came up with everything. You got to see the different typography choices she was playing with and what she ended up settling on. You can kind of see different ways she was playing with the outline. So this is her illustration. So it looks like she illustrated this using the pen tool in Adobe Illustrator. And look at that, she's even got her little sketch going on here. So her little brainstorming process, she made it strokes in Illustrator, and then she started to kind of slowly get this thing together, where she finally ended up with this last one at the bottom. It's kind of showing her ideation process. Let's see it on products. I love to see it on products. So that looks really good, really bright, colorful. I think the only comment would be is making sure it's got that high-end spa feel. And so kind of making sure you're resonating with that, because I think this is a great beach brand. I think it looks good, very West Coast, very beach brand, but trying to bring in that high-end spa element as well, in terms of trying to bring this to the next level in terms of looking high-end. So here's the t-shirt, looks good. So it's really impressive knowing that they drew this themselves. We could see that they drew it. They see that they kind of had it drawn in Illustrator. So I think that I really like the type choice that they ended up with. It has a lot of character. I might even widen the spacing here. See, it has these gaps here, which look really nice, but I might thicken it just a little bit more to put a little bit more spacing there. So when you zoom out, those little definitions between elements are much stronger. So I like this one as well. So Juan, I think you're live, Juan. If you're live, say hi. So this one's really special. This one's really neat. So I'm going to go ahead and open this up in Photoshop. This is kind of a dual meaning type thing. You can kind of see, you see the P, but you also see the C. So it kind of makes this wave shape, kind of goes out and in. And I kind of like the less complicated version. I'm sure you're probably not surprised that I like this one better. Let me see. I can't make a check mark. There we go. I really like the simplified version. I think it'll adapt better. I think the lines add too much complexity here. So yeah, this one, this was it. This is it right here. This looks really good. Nice, concise symbol. It looks very contemporary. It looks urban. It looks young, you know, millennials, kind of people that would be the target audience for this. I think it looks good. I think the strokes that you're using on the type, though, might have some issues, but, you know, it kind of does add to the vibe to it. I just wonder if you switch that to a solid color, if it might bring a little more simplicity to the logo mark overall. You could see that I'm not always against using strokes, but, you know, just in terms of simplification, it's the easiest thing to switch to make something more simple. And yeah, I kind of agree with Neil. It's a masculine logo, but I think that, you know, there's ways we can soften it up a little bit somehow, you know, with color, you know, adding a little color. Let's see what else you have here. Okay, you just have black and white. So yeah, trying to add, oh, here we go. There is a solid color. That looks a lot better right here. Zoom in. That looks a lot better filled in. So I think I appreciate that one a lot more. So yeah, you can find a way to, I think colors can be a good way to add a feminine touch. You have a lowercase here, which is feminine. So yeah, just experimenting with color and adding that to the brand might help soften it up and add a little more feminine approach to it. All right, so Jesse, so I looked at all yours. This is kind of his logo. Here's kind of the flyer that they did. So reduce stress, be strong, be calm, ready to conquer. And I was like, okay, this is okay logo. And then I got to this and I was like, wow, that has some potential there. This black and white version has some potential to be a strong logo. And I think it was the colors that was kind of putting me off a little bit. They're not bad colors, but I think it's just the colors were very, very different. If I go ahead and double click this, we have some very bright colors that are really kind of fighting with each other, and they're not giving me the calm vibe that I would like to have when having this. So when you reduced it down to a single color, it really helped to bring out your concept more. I think this has a lot of potential here, maybe straightening out kind of a lot of this and bringing a little bit more order to the flower. But I really like the type choice. I think this looks really good as it is. And you might not even need to add a ton of color to this. You might need to just pick one or two colors that are maybe analogous colors, or colors that are close in the color wheel that'll bring more of a sense of harmony and calmness, and maybe cool colors, you know, just kind of finding ways to bring in and fine tune those color choice palettes just a little bit. But yeah, I love the single color. That really big difference between that one and this one. That one looks a lot better. All right, so Jefferson, so we have this one. I'm going to go ahead and open this one in Photoshop as well and zoom in. Okay, so this one, interesting type choice. I'm not sure if that's a custom type choice or not. I would probably put a little more spacing between your two elements. I know the other person had too much spacing. I want you to add just a little bit more right there. And this is using all uppercase, but I might put a little bit more spacing between the lettering because it looks like they're kind of running together as one word. So finding ways to divide that a little bit more. So that's just some little typography stuff. In terms of this, we have the two water droplets, and it also makes a wave. It does in terms of logo balance. So you have this pretty large symbol, right? So it's pretty large, and you have this kind of small text. So if you look at the balance, it's a little bit off, and it's a little bit favoring the symbol, which is not always a bad thing. There's logos that can have the same balance and still look good. But I might even make that symbol a little bit smaller to have a little bit more balance. So maybe half the size, or maybe reduce it by 1/3 of the total width of the type. It might look a little bit better in terms of having a little bit more professional balance there. And I like your black and white too. So yeah, you'll have to tell me what typeface that is or if that's custom. All right, so Gabby, we have a PDF here. I know you sent yours over, so you can kind of see lots of different concepts. I want you guys to say in the comments which one you like better. Which one do you think would be one to work on? So kind of picking out that final one that would be the best. Let's see. So trying to think. So let me actually open this up in Photoshop so I can kind of mark through some things. So I'm going to help you out here, reducing it down to one concept you can really fine tune and refine a little bit. And that's going to be, I'm going to need to add a layer. Add a white layer and drag it down. There we go. All right, so let's see. Which one should we remove and which one should we keep? This is kind of how I do. I create about 20 different versions, and I literally X out the ones that I don't want to work with and circle the ones I do. So I like this one. This one has some potential. That one, I can't quite understand the symbol on that one, the overlapping shapes. That one, the lines might be a little bit too skinny. I like the idea of the stacked rocks. That's pretty cool. I think this one might be a little bit too busy. Same with this one. I like the idea of the rocks, but it almost looks like a spine or something. But I do like the little bird there. So just kind of you just cross out ones that you think about. And I really like this idea. I don't know. That would probably be my first choice to work on. These are very similar, so that's really the same concept. I would really fine tune the rocks. I think that's awesome because it goes back to yoga, it goes back to hot stone massage. It's tying back into the spa element, but also strength with rocks and stacking and leadership and all those things that those stacked rocks represent in culture. I think that's a really cool concept, and I really, really I like this a lot down here. That looks really good. So yeah, so that's kind of how I do my little brainstorming process. Just, kind of Xing and, finding which ones you think works. You may like another one on here. That's just kind of my choice. I'm not the end all be all. There's people that can make better choices than me, but just kind of showing you how I did that. Okay, so yep. All right, so moving on. I think we're getting here's a new submission. I haven't had time to look at this one a whole lot. But we have the PC here. So we have the P that makes a wave and the C. And I think the only thing that I would do to simplify it, since you already kind of have the wave represented in the P, I would probably eliminate these little tiny stroke waves just because it's not going to translate when I zoom out. So I'd probably get rid of those. I would be careful about print reproduction. Once again, these little points that come out to like a 1 pixel, these have a hard time to show up when you do embroidery and when you kind of print with foil stamping and all that stuff. So I just round that just a tad, kind of cut off that big sharp kind of point. I might even make the P a little bit more prominent, kind of have more of a P shape. And I don't know how that would work, but that looks awful. But just kind of giving a little bit more of the stem of the P to make it more obvious that it's a P. And then once again, sharpening these points because we're trying to have a nice soft spa environment. So I just like soften the little points here, round them up a little bit. That might help a lot with kind of getting that going here. But yeah, I really like this one a lot. I know you did it right before the time was due, so I'm glad you were able to submit a project so I can kind of take a look at that. I might close the gap a little bit between these words just to connect them just a tiny bit more. I might even make one a thinner or a bolder weight just to have a little bit more contrast. But I like the color palette here. I think that's really good. So finding ways to simplify this, making that more obvious of a P and maybe getting rid of that little element there and softening the corners maybe bringing the C out just a little bit more to make it more obvious that it's a C. And I think you'll have an idea there. All right, so Danielle. So I'm going to go ahead and double click on this one. I think this is the one I want to show first. So this one's kind of got a different approach. I like the idea of the water drop. I like the circle, kind of reminds me of a sunset. Guys, you have a lot of double meaning here. This is a beautiful mock-up, by the way. Not sure where you found this, but it's a stunning mock-up. If you want to share that with the group, I'd love to use this mock-up myself. Kind of let me know where you guys find your favorite mock-ups. I use Graphic Burger, but there's probably a lot of different other websites to use for mock-ups. This is some brainstorming process, which I love to see. I can kind of see how they got the idea of the droplet and how they drew everything out and the color palette. What I might make sure is to have maybe one more brighter element or one brighter color just to kind of have as an option for your logo to be in, because these are all very dark. So just having that contrasted lighter color, and it could be a neutral shade, it could be a toned down shade, but just having a lighter shade option to have, kind of like this color, having that as an option in your color palette, to have kind of some darker colors and some lighter colors, just to have maximum flexibility with your color template. Okay, here it is on the bottle. And I might be careful. I think that these two colors are fairly dark. So it's very dark. So you have the dark droplet and you have kind of the darker colors. So I'd kind of have a bright color to kind of bring that droplet out more so it doesn't blend in too much with that background. And I might even take away, and I'm always taking away stuff, sorry guys, the little kind of element here, because if you take that away, it'll just kind of and make your maybe have a little bit more smoother curves to your eye drop or your water drop. That might look really good too. And maybe eliminating some of the ripples or softening the ripples a little bit by giving them round caps, or maybe thickening the stroke a little bit, or maybe not needing as many ripples. So once again, finding ways to simplify. I like the solid color a lot better here. I think the solid color looks really, really good. The gradient one's tough, but I think the solid color looks really good, very contemporary. And here's our elements. Oh, and I'm already in the next person. So, oh, it's taking a while to, there we go. All right, so thank you, Danielle, for posting that. I think it's a really strong concept, just finding ways to kind of simplify that, maybe having just a little bit of a brighter shade. Doesn't have to be a neon color, but just something that's going to help give it a little more contrast. So here, Dele, I think I said your name right, Dele. If not, I apologize. So this is kind of how it looks in real life, in the wild. And I like the idea of the water droplet. Once again, the typography looks good. I'd make sure it has a perfect left alignment. Oh, it's not really required. I think maybe that's okay. But I think it's just off enough where it looks like it's a mistake. So I would shift. Let me actually open this up. I would, where's my thing? I would shift it to over here and have calm here, because then it doesn't look like it's accidentally shifted over a little bit. It's like just enough where you think it's by accident. So just kind of changing that a little bit. Here's the water bottle. I love these mock-ups. I don't know where you get these, but they're pretty great. Here's a t-shirt. I like the idea of having something coming out of the right, kind of a watermark style. And I love this. I like the colors here. This is a really nice color palette with kind of, it's like a purple, but it has a little bit of a tan in there as well. And your type choice looks really good here, and this looks really great. I like the idea of doing a texture on one side of the business card. Let's see, here's kind of some other symbols. And I can see the person, but also maybe a sunset and a wave. So I can kind of see a lot of different things in this symbol. I kind of like the middle one a lot. That could have a lot of potential, because it almost looks like a person running, but you can also see the waves as well. So I can kind of see how the gym and the spa are both kind of represented there. So I kind of prefer the middle one down the line. I know that might not be everybody's opinion, but that's kind of what I like. So there's a vertical different presentations. I might get a little bit of a different type choice there for the bottom, maybe one that's a little bit more streamlined, a little less detailed, just to kind of go with the overall flat icon you have as well. It's kind of matching your font with your symbol. All right, so next, we only got a few left. So Christopher, now I got to take a drink because I'm Been talking too much. Throat's getting dry. All right, so let's open up Christopher's. So we have a lot going on here. So we have a heart, an arrow, a yoga person, a wave, and we have a lot of different elements. So what I might do is, this is the classic case of trying to find a way to simplify all these elements. You may not need the arrow, so I'd probably just, because it almost looks like Cupid and his love arrow and all that stuff. So I would probably just not confuse people and just nix that out. I like the idea of putting a heart here. You know, I haven't seen anyone, I've seen one person use the heart, but I haven't seen it used as the main symbol. So there could be a way that you can make the heart also a wave, which, because you kind of have a wave feeling in these curves, that'd be a big challenge, but that's an idea to simplify this, and you won't need this little extra wave inside. And then Pacific Calm, you can have this be all white if possible. Sometimes when you have this thing, the line that runs through it, and you have different colors, it could be really hard to see. So if you can, keep kind of the same color throughout the type and not have the dividing line area. So yeah, just trying to find a way to do the heart and the wave. That would be a really neat concept. All right, Chris Stanford. You have the double type. I call this double type. I'm not sure if that's the official name, but I put it as one of my 2019 design trends. It's called double type, where you see type within other type. So the idea of doing a double type is really cool. Executing one is so hard. I've tried it on my Procreate app, and it's definitely a challenge trying to do a double type kind of presentation. But I like the idea of that. I think that's good. I think we can find ways to simplify the curves of the C, so you can kind of read it a little bit better. And this is really, it's hard to master. I can't even do this well myself. So the idea of the feather is a really good idea. Once again, with balance, I might reduce the symbol, so maybe it's right here. So maybe about 20 to 30% smaller. So it has a little bit more balance and context with the type choice. And I might kind of explore a different type choice here, because this looks very kind of computer tech kind of typography. So I'd find one that's a lot softer to match your overall logo. But I like the idea of the feather. You can continue to explore that a little bit more. I like it. So double type. All right, so we have this one. So this is the first presentation where you have a very thin type and you have the A's connected. So someone said they spotted kind of some waves in there. I like the thin type. You just want to make sure when you zoom out, you know, if you can, I don't want to zoom out so far, that's unrealistic, but if you can make out the letters there, then it passes the test. So I would, just to be on the safe side, thicken it just a tad. You don't have to make it bulky and ugly. You could just make it, you know, maybe twice the thickness, and it'll probably look pretty good. But I like the idea. See, there's contrast here. They highlighted the two A's here, and they did that with color, and that looks really, really nice. How you have the two A's connected, and you have the contrast with color. That looks really great. And this is the second option, which has this kind of C with a wave inside of it. That's okay. So that's a symbol using the same type. So that's just an extra symbol. So you have kind of the wave coming out there. So I would find a way to have contrast with your stride. I overuse the word contrast. Sorry about that, guys. But just having maybe kind of have a thick line and have it go a little bit thinner as it goes, spirals around, maybe gives the idea of a wave a little bit more instead of having the same thickness of the C throughout. It might make a little bit more unified of a symbol. But what do you guys think? I'd like to love your comments. Yeah, double A's that's a winner right there. Double A's. And there's the C a little bit bigger. So Cato, you have a lot here. So let's go ahead and go over this. This is kind of the main logo mark. I like the gradient transition. It's very feminine type choice. Absolutely. Let me get my computer back up and going on my other side so I can see your comments. I like the I almost wonder these little lines, if that's even necessary, this little extra stuff. I would just nix that out and then keep the typeface, because you can reverse that in one color on a dark background and have it look good. And I would thicken the Love Yourself Healthy just a tiny bit. You're probably getting sick of me saying that, but color choices, definitely bright and vibrant with the pinks and the greens. I almost wonder if you stick, instead of having a pink, if you did like a really deep purple. And it kind of has a bright pinks are very vibrant, and if you have like a deep purple, it'll kind of bring a little bit more calmness with it. So that might work in terms of like color palette. I like how it exists as its own little PC, little initials. That looks really good. So here it is in black and white. I think it looks really good in black and white as well. So very feminine. And here it is on, oh wow. Yeah, she really went all out and did everything. So she, when sometimes I'll think a logo's okay, and then I'll see it on things and I like it a lot better. So this is one of those cases where you kind of see it applied and you go, yeah, I think that could actually work. And you double click and you can kind of see how they, um, have a different approach. And this is where it all depends on what the client likes. If the client wants this ultra feminine look, then they're going to love this. If they want kind of more of that contemporary kind of mix between masculine and feminine, they might want to go in a different direction. But it all depends on the client, what they like and what they want. So that's why submitting multiple different concepts is a really good idea. So, ooh, wow, there you go. There's where they are. That's cool. I like how you did that. That's really neat how you adapted that. So great. Yeah, look at all this. This is great. All right, so Cameron Dobbs, I think you're live. This is yours. I think you have a couple ones. Okay, you had a different version of it. Let's go ahead and open up this one. Let's explore this one a little bit more. I think the execution and design and layout of this is beautiful. I think it was the golden ratio that kind of inspired you to do this circle. But I think the emblem itself is stunning. And I love this little bird in there. It's like a little Easter egg. It's really neat. The curves of the wave is really, really cool. And the fact that you also fit it into like a teardrop or a water drop is awesome. I think the type choice, I think that was something that was up for debate with the group. And since you have such a simple flat icon here, I think you could probably get away with a really simple type choice. Not Helvetica or something, but something kind of a little bit more, less flowy. This has a nice flow to it, which looks good with the symbol, but since you have such a contemporary simple symbol, sometimes going with a more contemporary sans serif might work really good here. I actually do like this lowercase type there too. And another thing is color, and you have kind of some inspiration for color. Here's the black and white, which I think looks really, really, really cool. Love it in black and white. And I love how it works in one color. Here's your inspiration here. Let's go ahead and open up your inspiration. So you have beach pink, calming blue, and Pacific blue. And one thing I might work on is color palette choices and trying to find specific color. I know with pink, I know in terms of it's definitely a woman's color. I mean, but I think society is changing where, you don't necessarily have to use pink to have strong female colors. You can use golds and purples and blues and still have it be feminine. And I think one thing you can do is I like the blues, but I think the blues with the pinks remind me of baby colors like baby blue and baby girl pink. And so finding ways to make those colors still soft and feminine, but also not reminding us of, babies, not like a baby store or anything like that. So having kind of that, maybe some deeper colors, some deep rich purples, some deep rich golds, and kind of working those in. I think you have the logo symbol nailed down. This is one of the stronger ones in the whole bunch right here. This is a really, really good solid example. So tweaking color and tweaking the type a little bit, I think you'll have a really, 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 really strong idea here. Okay, so we just have 4 left, and then we're done. We could do a Q&A session. All right, here's another one. So I think this is another kind of idea of simplification is always really good with logo design. This would make a good illustration or a flyer, but in terms of a standalone logo that needs to be adapted to t-shirts and flyers, you need to have a lot more simple of a logo. And so we can find a way to eliminate a lot of these elements. And let me go ahead and bring it in. I know we don't have a lot of time, so I'm not going to be able to spend as much time as I'd like, but we can eliminate a lot of this stuff. So I love the idea of the leaves, so maybe that can stay. The idea of the yoga pose, so maybe you can have a girl doing yoga that's maybe a negative space or cut out of the leaves, and then that's it. You have this really nice concise symbol. You don't need to have 3 people doing yoga. You can just have one, and find a, I don't know if you really need the barbell there. Maybe find a way to work that into the leaves. But don't feel like you have to jam everything in there. A lot of things can be unspoken in terms of ideas, knowing that it's a gym. So once again, kind of simplifying that will go a long way in making a strong logo design. Okay, so Beck, I like the idea of this. What would be really neat if this was like a Nautilus shell, but also had that same watercolor look to it. That would be super cool because I love the script type. I like the big P here that has nice movement to it. I think this has a lot of nice move, soft flowing movement to it. The type is great. I might tuck your comm in just a little bit higher, closer to the I and the C, but of course not touching. But I think kind of this whole color and watercolor idea is a really great idea. I would even put that on a Nautilus kind of shape and put it in the background. That could have a lot of potential there. So I like your type choice. I like the flowing script. I think that looks really, really good. All right, we just have 2 left. So Anna, I love how this looks on the mock-up. That looks really, really good. Oh, this is the one I like this one a lot. So I'm gonna go ahead and double click this. This looks really good applied. I love the symbol right here. That looks fantastic. One thing I would do is the L and the Y and the H don't quite seem to match with the whole rest of it. So I think you could probably just get away with keeping it all in this typeface and not using kind of the weird script for the capital letters because it's really throwing everything off. But I think the idea that you have the A kind of without the crossbar in it, it looks really good. And I love this photo choice. The way you laid this out is really nice as well. Here it is on a product. So you kind of have, that'd be really good embossed and have a silver foil stamping on it. Once again, that will probably need to change the capital letters on that because it's really standing out a little bit as a sore eye kind of thing. So I would kind of change that a little bit, but the symbol itself looks really, 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 really fantastic on this black product. So here's color. These are kind of those deep, rich colors that I was suggesting with, if you don't, not all of you have to use deep, rich colors, but this is kind of what I had in mind when I was talking about those deep purples and deep blacks and grays and, blacks that have a little bit of purple in it, that kind of thing. This is kind of that rich color palette, which brings a high-end look, but also reminds me of a gym, but also reminds me of a spa. So that's kind of the idea I was going for with that. So here it is in a black and white presentation and color. So that's a really good job. I really like that. So Amy, and I think there's a revision here. So this was the one before, and this is the one after. So the thickened stroke, see how thin that is? Can't really make it out really good. But then they thicken the strokes. It looks a lot better. The concepts there, I like the C. That's also holding in the wave. I'd maybe make the wave a little smoother. So maybe have just like one little dip there instead of having lots of little dips, because it makes it just looks like a pool. And this will look more like an ocean where you're kind of having the wave kind of throughout the sea. And I would also think about balance with your symbol. So you have this huge symbol and this little tiny type. It looks like an afterthought. So you want to make sure you have a lot stronger of a typography element so it doesn't look like an afterthought, and they can both kind of match in terms of there. But the concepts there, I love the idea of the sea holding up the ocean. So I like that a lot. And there it is on the t-shirt. All right, Tracy. Tracy is last because I think alphabetically I had a space in there. So for some reason she's last. So I'm saving the best for last, Tracy. So here is yours kind of in the black and white presentation. Once again, I love seeing logos on products because I think it really brings it to life and makes me kind of connect with it a little bit better. So there it is on a product. And I would say one thing, let me go ahead and open up. Let me go ahead and show everything first. So beautiful mock-ups, by the way. I can totally see this is a real logo. This is kind of something that looks really nice. There's the t-shirt. Love yourself healthy, nice and simple. Here's kind of our color palette inspiration. I'm going to go ahead and open this up so I can just make a few comments about the strokes. So we need to find a way. I think what we can do is, you see this stroke, how it's in a stroke? I would remove the stroke and just have it be a solid color, because when you zoom out, it'll simplify it even more. So that's the only thing that I would probably tweak with the type. I would probably work a little bit on this part of the type. I would maybe close the spacing between the gaps here between lowercase letters because sometimes it makes it feel disjointed. I would also reduce the size of this just a little bit so it doesn't overwhelm this. This is the most important part of the logo. So making that about 20% smaller or so might really help kind of achieve more balance and hierarchy, type hierarchy with this logo. But I love this symbol a lot. This right here, that's super cool. I can see that used a lot just standalone on products as well. So that has a lot of potential. And one thing I definitely wanted to show off is her brainstorming process. She said it was a mess, but if you look at mine, not that one, that is that's my brainstorming mess. And so it's very normal, very natural to be kind of messy in the creative process. And I love how she kind of shows us how she got to where she is going. And kind of, I like this little wave here that you were exploring over here with the sea and Pacific, but you probably realized it was probably too complicated. And then you started to do the dumbbell, and you can see how you kind of created all these little symbols. You can kind of slowly see this evolve. It's really cool and really neat to see that. I really love this icon of the girl and the woman. I think that's the strongest part of the logo. I think if you worked a little bit on the typography and remove the stroke, it'll kind of clean it up a little bit. So there we have it. We're done. Woohoo! So now we have time for a little bit of Q&A. Let me kind of do my little spiel first. If you want to check out the Logo Design Mastery course, I have it on my website, lindsaymarsh.myportfolio.com. You can get to it on my Facebook page. I have coupons to all of my courses on here at the lowest price available. So you can find the lowest price available anytime if you go to my website and find the course that's right for you. If you want to know what course is right for you, just let me know, post a question or message me to go, hey, is that class too beginner for me? Is that class too advanced for me? I got a lot of great new classes out and coming out. So sometimes it's overwhelming to know, well, what class do I take next? You offer a lot of different stuff. So just let me know what class works for you. I also teach on Skillshare. I have over 71 classes on Skillshare. Usually the same ones that are in Udemy, but broken up into a little bit of smaller courses. And you can also get my Logo Design Mastery course on Skillshare. If you're a member, you don't have to pay for it. You're already a subscribing premium member. And also reviews. I want reviews. That's the way to help pay me back, is just leave a review. That helps me so much. It also keeps me going. It keeps me excited about teaching design, which I love to do. So now that that's spiel is all out of the way, please leave a review. Can't stress how much I love reading reviews and just seeing that you reviewed the course. Let's have a little bit of a Q&A. There was one question that was left in the Q&A box. I didn't get a lot of questions, but maybe I'll get one now. I'm going to, oh, did I review Juan's? Juan's, did I? Let's see. J, Juan. Yeah, Juan's. Is that him? Or is there another Juan? I think that's Juan, right? Oh, Camila. Okay, another Juan. Okay, let me go look it up on the Facebook now. Let's go to Facebook. Let's check it out. Don't want to miss out on any of this stuff. I know Facebook's been really slow lately, so hopefully I can be able to pull it up. Learn Design, Go Freelance. There it is. Did you send it? Did you post it on this website? Because I can try to find you here. Oh, the other one, the theory one. Okay, let me just make sure. That's the other one. Okay, so let's do theory. We're going to figure this out. And if not, I can always do another one. All right, let's try this group. I'm not seeing it for some reason. What I can do is I'm going to do a separate video just for you. So I'm going to post that right after we're finished once I find yours. If you want to post it again in this group, let me go ahead and check to make sure I don't have a pending post. Okay, Neil's going to tag me. Yay. Okay, so he's going to tag me with all that. So that'll be great. And in the meantime, let me answer some questions. I think you just tagged me. There we go. Oh, that one's beautiful. How did I miss that one? Okay, so this one is beautiful. Where did I put that? Must have missed my folder. It's probably on my desktop somewhere and didn't end up in the final folder. But this was one of my favorite ones. Um, Neil, if you can show me the other ones, there's a couple other images. If I can go ahead and do like this and search him in the group. I'm just not sure. Oh, there it is. Yay, found it. Woohoo! Okay, so this is beautiful. Can't miss this one. So this one has the sea of the calm and the waves on the bottom. It has this really pop art type of feeling to it, a very flat design. I love the pop art thing. It's very urban, very contemporary, very youthful. And I think the color palette with the purple and the peach color is absolutely stunning. Your typography is stunning. That's a beautiful type choice. Look how they paired it with an all caps. Looks really beautiful down there below with that lighter color. I love everything about this logo. I can't believe I missed it. Thank you for letting me know. Here's all the different presentations. So it looks good in a single color. It looks good vertical, horizontal. It's got a ton of fantastic. This is a very strong contender for best of show. So thank you for bringing it up that I didn't want to miss this. So this is the inspiration. So you have the wave here, plus the sea, plus the sunset. You got all of these beautifully combined together, all three of those structures coming together to make something really good. I wanted to generate a first look impact through mixing some of the key elements of the beach and its calming atmosphere. The calming waves, the amazing sunset, and the word calm are the key elements of this amazing brand. And it absolutely feels calm. That's a beautiful way to put it. I love the way you presented your color palette. It's a neat way to kind of have a sleek presentation. The color palette transmits what the beach landscape would be like, the peach colors all around the sand, the purple blue that vanishes in the horizon, and the green in the palms. So beautifully well put together color palette. Here it is on products. You can kind of see, I love this. Look at this. So they have this beautiful sans serif, and then they have this really neat organic script type that says oil on top. Look at how that symbol looks standalone small. Look how easily it translates. That's small and in color, and it looks good still. And I love everything about this product design. I like kind of this texture, that the dot repeat pattern that you have on your letterhead. That looks really, 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 really good. Here it is on the t-shirt. I would wear that t-shirt. Very California, very urban. You're hitting your target audience beautifully with this. I think it's really nice and fresh. So thank you, Juan. Yay, I'm glad I had both Juans reviewed today. Can't believe I almost missed that. This is one of my favorite ones that I even featured on another post that I did about getting people excited about watching this. But yay, so who do you think's the best of show? I need some help. I got some pretty good contenders already, but let me know, post who you think deserves the best in show. There's going to be some honorable mentions, but I really need help picking that very top spot. The one we just saw, Juan, you're definitely up there on my list. And there's several others that I really think had some strong ones. There's Laura, I think, had a really awesome submission. So just kind of let me know what you think deserves the top spot. I'm going to do a quick 10-minute Q&A, and then I'm going to have to probably get off. But let me go ahead and do notes. I had one question, and let me kind of hide all that away because we don't need to see all my little passwords and stuff. So the question was, and I should have wrote down who asked this question, but they like brand design and they like UI design. Should I learn both or should I specialize in one? That's a really good question. I think every designer needs to learn brand design first and foremost, because like we've seen with logo design, with UX design, website design, if you don't know how to work with brands and translate brand elements to everything, then it's going to be really hard to do stuff in isolation. So I think you should learn brand design first, absolutely, and then dive a little bit more deeper into UI design, which is more of kind of a subspecialty of design. And so getting into UI design, you'll be able to develop icons that are based on a brand. Kind of knowing how to create those branded icons will really help you in that UI design process. So that's a fantastic question. If anyone else has any other questions, I'll be happy to answer them. So I'm seeing some votes. People are voting for Juan, Samantha, Laura, Sean. A lot of people are shouting out some names, but let me know some questions. I'm here for you for the next 10 minutes. I can answer anything about freelancing, design, software, what course to take next. Let me know kind of kind of what you're thinking there in terms of answering some questions. So this is kind of some logo presentation I was putting together for the class to kind of show you ideas of kind of how I put together particular logos and presentations. And we have this one with the kind of adapting everything to the grid system and trying to get order to everything. So kind of a combination between the grid and the golden ratio. I was able to kind of come up with something kind of concise that I think I could show the client and say, there's a method to my madness. And kind of showing it presented on lots of different backgrounds, kind of showing the flexibility a little bit there. So, okay, so here's a question. What order should I take your courses on Udemy? How soon after I complete most of your courses on Udemy can I begin to work for clients and start earning money? And that's a great question. So in terms of Udemy classes, let me go ahead. It's a fantastic question. Let me pop on to, okay, let's go ahead and get on my thing here. Let's pop it on here. So in terms of getting kind of that basic education and graphic design and learning theory, but also learning, let me see if I can get to my public profile here. Wish I already had this set up. Try not to show you like passwords and stuff. So don't look. Public profile, here we go. So in terms of getting that basic education of theory and learning software, the Graphic Design Masterclass is a great start. And that's for people that are total beginners or maybe haven't dabbled in design a whole lot. That's a great class to take to get that basic foundation. And then it starts to split off to lots of different intermediate level classes. So it splits off. If you want to learn Photoshop, there's a Photoshop manipulation class where you can really get into photo editing and working with photos and cutting them out. That kind of gets way more detailed with Photoshop if you wanted to do that. I really love the graphic design the mastery, the full branding course, because it takes you from the logo design, but it takes you all the way through the branding process. We stick with the same brand, but I get into all the nitty gritty intermediate stuff, like how to work with bleeds and metallic inks, how to prepare files for clients, like all that nitty gritty kind of stuff that would be overwhelming to give a beginner, to put in a beginner level course. So I love this as kind of a next step. There's also the Next Step Masterclass, which takes the masterclass but keeps going with a lot of different classes or a lot of different projects. So it doesn't just focus on branding, it focuses on magazine design, and I do a chocolate bar wrapper and all that kind of golden ratio. So it kind of is basically a continuation of a little bit of everything. And that's an intermediate level class. And then the new one is Logo Design Mastery. I find that most of my work I do with clients is logo design based. So that's why I created this course, to kind of show you the whole process in way more detail than I can in my other classes, because 50% of my work has been logo design, branding type of work. So I wanted to do one that focuses on this. And I know a lot of students struggle with logo design. They're great with layout design, but they just can't seem to get the whole concept brainstorming process going. And so this class is brand new. And of course, make sure you go to my website to get the cheapest price. So that's kind of the order. And of course, there's little extra ones like if you want to do UX UI process and do mobile app design, there's a couple other little side classes that you can take as well. So let me see. Let's see some other questions. I asked this on your logo course. Do you have a tip to find out what your target audience would be like if the client doesn't know? That's a really good question. So that's where some data and some research comes into handy. If they have a website, you can dive into their Google Analytics and try to get some data that way. You can dive into their Facebook page and find demographic information. You can go to their Instagram. There's also, if they have a business Instagram page, you can dive into analytics with that as well and find out your target demographic. So there's a lot of ways you can dive into data, and if they don't have any of that, it's basically studying their competitors and seeing what their target demographic is and what makes the other client unique. So that would also shift that demographic target a little bit if they're wanting to target, a different set of that the competitor targets. So if you're opening up a coffee house, you have no clue who it is, look at Starbucks's audience, and you can easily find that data looking at Alexa and other kind of website, kind of finding demographic information from competitors. And if that doesn't work, then it's going to be a little bit of trial and error and guesswork trying to figure out that target audience and sitting down with the client. The client's got to provide you with some industry statistics, at least, they got to help you out a little bit. They can't just say, here, make up the target audience. You're on your own. I mean, you're a graphic designer. You're not a marketer. So you got to get a little bit of that data out of them. Okay, is there any way I can mail you my portfolio that I prepared? I would like feedback. Absolutely, sure. I'd love to give a little bit of feedback. Sometimes I even do video feedbacks. Okay, so if anybody else, did you work with an agency corporation before going freelance? When did you start freelancing? I started freelancing about 15 years ago. I just did small projects. I wasn't full-time. I did that for about a year. I did little small logo design projects I found online. I started to do stuff for my school. I told them I had some graphic design experience, and they gave me my first kind of work in terms of doing some advertising for them. So I kind of worked for my own school there for a while, and then they referred me to another client, and then kind of got that referral process going and kept going. So yeah, about 14, 15 years ago, it took me about 1 year to go from part-time doing it on the side to scaling up to be full-time. And even then, it took me a couple of years to really get the kind of income that I was wanting. It took about 2 to 3 years of working to get kind of a desired income for me. So that's a really good question. Should I upload my portfolio to Behance or Dribbble? And my simple answer is both. Both are fantastic. I think Behance has a wider audience. I think a lot of agencies look at Behance work and rising stars on Behance. So I think you're going to get more agency eyes on you if you do Behance. And Dribbble is more kind of a Instagram following type thing where you're not going to get a lot of serious contacts there. But I'm not saying don't do it, because you're going to get some connection or some exposure that you never anticipated. So, I mean, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So if you have a chance to put your portfolio out there, do both. I would definitely focus on Behance in terms of finding client work more than Dribbble. Okay. I think I got them all. Okay, any more questions? I'm going to get ready to wrap it up. I'll do one more question. Just looking at your comments, so just trying to read and entertain. I think I got everybody's question. Oh, and another follow-up to one of the questions where it says, you know, how should I take your courses and how soon can I start freelancing? You can start freelancing now. I started freelancing before I really had the skill set, and I would charge fairly low prices or work for free, just kind of get some experience while I was still learning, because a lot of the ways I learned is by doing client work, and sometimes it would take me 3 times the amount of time it should to do client work, but I was learning along the way, so I was okay with that. So I really was one of those people that learned on my own, kind of going through client projects. And there's times where I had to learn about bleed on my own by working with a printer, and I sent a file and they're like, it needs bleed. And I had to Google it. What's bleed? And I Googled it and I figured out how to add bleed. And then from there on out, I knew how to add bleed. So it's one of those, client work helped me know what I needed to learn. And of course, in some of my classes, like my graphic design mastery, you get to kind of shortcut that a little bit and not have to do so much learning on your own as you go. But go ahead and get that client work now. Don't wait. You don't have to charge a lot of money. You could do some pro bono stuff for some nonprofits. Go ahead and start getting those contacts now, because it takes a while to build up your client base. Okay, so this has been fantastic. I'm going to do just a Q&A session next time, but I'm going to take a month. I'm going to still be around in the community, but I'm taking a month off from creating course content. But I'm excited to announce the next one I'm going to be working on after I get back from summer vacation. It's going to be a How to Go Freelance course. So it's going to walk you through every step of the way of how to go freelance in design. So we're going to be spending hours building a portfolio, getting it out there. We're going to be building an Upwork portfolio. We're going to be finding ways to network with clients, kind of going into way more detail than I've ever gone before. It's going to hopefully be a 6 or 7 hour course where I walk you through accounting, how to do invoices, all this kind of freelancing stuff. It's not going to be focused on design. It's going to be a total freelance. How do I start my business? How do I go full time? So that'll take me a few months to work on, but that's kind of what I'm kind of working on. But hopefully you've enjoyed kind of this live session. I need to go ahead and get off. I need to pick up my kids from school and kind of start their day. But I've really enjoyed our time together. Thank you so much for being amazing students. I can't believe I get to do this for a living. I'm very thankful. Thank you so much for giving me that opportunity. And once again, leave those reviews. The reviews is the best way to pay me back because I love to see your comments and I love to see your reviews. So thank you so much, guys. Love you all. And we're going to do this again in a few weeks.